We're on. Brent,
Yes.
thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
I was excited to have you on. I mean, obviously, we're personal friends.
That's right.
Obviously, we met a while back. I've always appreciated your company, and when you agreed to come on the podcast, I was really happy.
Well, thanks very much, Dan. It was a great invitation, and thank you for coming out to my 70th birthday party last month.
That was fun.
It was a real blast.
You've
been a good friend over the years, and I'm very proud of what you've done and accomplished in your life, and here with your whole new setup, and your future is amazing. So
perfect. Thank you.
Excited.
Thank you. No, and I mean, obviously, and we'll go through this today, but you and I really clicked when we met, because obviously you've got tremendous amount of experience when it comes to business and your family history in business, and even today being an active entrepreneur. And I just admire that.
Thank you. To me, business it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I was raised in a business family. My grandparents were immigrants from Lebanon, came over in 1920s. And they struggled. And then my parents, Hawkesbury, Ontario, ended up in Hawkesbury, Ontario. So my grandfather used to take his cart and buggy and go around to the local farmers and exchange clothing for food. That's how they survived. So my mother was raised that. So I'll never forget when I was 5 years old in our new home. We had a new home at 5. And Mom would say, "Hey, Brent, you got to try this out." And I said, "What's that?" Well, it's my favorite sandwich. It was a mustard sandwich.
A mustard
sandwich. 2 pieces of white bread with mustard in between. So that's where we came from. We came from a family that was very poor when they came, immigrant family.
Yeah.
We grew up above our store in Hawkesbury, Ontario. We had a jewelry store, and we had a couple of clothing stores, my aunt and my uncle and his cousins, and we all get together. So at one point there was 3 families and my grandmother living above the stores. And we had a blast. We had the best time together. So you see today, we all have this, we all have that. But when I think back to those times, as a family, we had a blast together. So we didn't have a lot, but we had each other, and we had so much fun.
Yeah.
So I think today, today's society, because today we have lots of things, it's fun to think that, in one way, our families are, at the core of it is to enjoy your family and have fun along the way. So coming back, that's where we started, and then we branched out from there. At one point, my parents had their jewelry store, so I grew up with them in their store.
Nice. And I mean, when you think about it, it's not that far out. It's not that long ago.
That's
right? And you get to appreciate all of these, the progression, and being, raised in a family that had that wherewithal to.
We're very, very lucky. I grew up with my Auntie Kay Astley. She was one of my mentors, and she had a clothing store. When she was 6 and 7 years old, they would pay her 5 cents a week to take the cows from one area to a farm to another area of the farm, and she'd get 5 cents a week. So a woman who grew up with nothing went into the clothing business. She bought the store from her uncle when he was passing away. He told his wife, "You got to sell this store to Kay Astley." When she was 14 years old, she dropped out of school at 11 years old. She had her own store at 14 years old.
Isn't that crazy?
She learned everything from that. She taught me everything. She said during the Depression, Brent, we would save the string on the boxes. When people would bring back something, they want to return it, we would save the string on the boxes. So she taught me how to think. And she had this beautiful store in Hawkesbury, Ontario. She'd go to New York to get her mannequins. She'd bring back the clothes from New York. She'd go to Montreal, pick up beautiful clothing, bring it back, and sell it to people in her area.
Yeah.
And so she brought us that experience of, okay, you're gonna fight, you're gonna work hard, and you're gonna make a living, and you're gonna build yourself into something. So I'm very appreciative of her and my mother too, obviously too, my dad. And so I grew up in their jewelry store.
Right.
So I had lots of fun.
That is it. Yeah. And I mean, obviously when you grow up witnessing that, then it rubs off on you.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
I can see it. I mean, obviously I watch you, how you operate, and it's admirable for me, because I'm looking at.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think when you think about it, you taught from a young age, you have to realize, you say to yourself, "I'll never be poor. I'll always work hard. I'll always provide for my family. I'll always provide for my friends." It becomes part of who you are. And I'll never forget going back to, when I grew up in their store, I would go downstairs and Mom and Dad would say, "Okay, we just received this huge shipment of china from England in these huge wood casks." Yes. I would go downstairs, I would unpack them all, 6 years old, with a packing slip, this was broken, this is fine. And I'd come upstairs, and we were always playing around that atmosphere. Right. So they taught me a lot about business, just growing up in that business, and how to think properly, and how to take care of customers, and how to have fun at the same time, basically.
What an example.
Yeah, they were great examples.
Yeah.
Kay Astley, my uncle Wilf too. He was in the business too. He was in the men's clothing business. I had my uncle Jimmy, who had Holiday Motel. He was in the hotel business and eventually the furniture business. And then all of my nephews and nieces, we all grew up together in business at all different ages doing various things.
Right.
And then at one point, we went into the jewelry business, and my brother and I developed 6 stores. And we went from my parents' store to going out to developing another 5 stores, eventually buying my parents' store. So, and that was quite an experience.
And what made your parents go into the jewelry store? Like what
so it's very interesting because I like
the origin of how we built up to today.
How it came. So Dad and Mom got married in 1944. Dad was in the Air Force. He met Mom in Hawkesbury, Ontario. And they got married in 44, and they opened up a diner on Main Street, Hawkesbury, called the Astoria Grill. Mom and Dad, every weekend, they had a bit of money. They would take their car and they would drive to New York City, and they had big dreams about what they were going to do. So they'd spend their few bucks here and there in New York City, come back. So what happened in 1948, they had a fire in the diner. And Mom said, "That's it, Bill. We're going into the jewelry business." And that was it. They closed it. And if you knew my mother, she was that type. She would never, a diner was never her style, never what she would ever aspire to be. So then they opened this jewelry business in 1949. My brother was born in 49. We all grew up above the store, lived above the store together in these small apartments. So I learned a lot about the business. We had a watchmaker, a goldsmith in the back. So I would learn from them how to think about how to serve people well. And that kind of thing was a lot of fun.
That is what it's so fun. It must be fun even for you to recall that.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a beautiful memories, because when I think of myself every Christmas getting together with my nephews and my aunts, uncles, my grandmother in her apartment, we jam into this apartment. There are 25 of us in that 1-bedroom apartment, and we're all bringing food and we're talking, we're having joyful times, right? Of course. We had very little, but we had each other. We had so much fun, So coming back to today, sometimes you look at life and you say, what's happening? Well, come back to your family, enjoy your family, do things with your family, build your businesses, but enjoy your families.
Absolutely.
Have fun with your
And
life.
you're a great example of that. I've seen you. And Thank you. Obviously, as you alluded to, I was at your birthday. You brought it up, so I'll let you bring it up if you want to. But yeah, that was, to witness that was quite moving. To see how that chemistry was happening with that group. So I was
very lucky.
I was there at one point. I was quite privileged to be in this room watching this. This is quite impressive, right? So good for you.
Well, thank you, Dan.
Good for you. And then obviously, in La Maison D'or, you celebrated how many years?
We celebrated 45 years last year in Ottawa, and 75 years as a family business. So 75 years since my parents started business, 45 years in Ottawa. We came to Ottawa in 1979, and we opened 3 stores, and we had 2 other stores before that in the Hawkesbury, Lachute area. So we ran those 6 stores for a good over 20 years.
And together. That was with your brother, you said?
Yeah, my brother Bill basically spearheaded the development of the stores. I followed him very closely after I was in Carleton University in year 2, and I realized, I'm in an arts program, and I realized, no, I should be in business. I really loved it. And I had this background in jewelry. I would work every weekend in my parents' store. Through their holidays, I would help them in the jewelry store. So I understood the business really well, and I enjoyed it. So then it was kind of a natural step for my brothers when he went into it, for me to join him.
Yes.
And then we built it out. We started from scratch. In 1975, we built interior of an entire store for $10,000. Including the cash register.
Yeah.
We went to my aunt's store and we borrowed, meaning we took her showcases out of the basement. We covered them with wallpaper. Yeah. We put in a shag rug. At the time, that was the thing. Yeah. We did everything. We painted it ourselves. $10,000, entire store. First year, Hawkesbury, Ontario, we, was tough, working things out. What kept us alive was our creditors. At that time, they would give you up to a year to pay for your invoices, your bills. So we took advantage of that. It kept us going the first year because our cash flow was so tight.
Yeah.
Coming to Ottawa, Lachute, and then coming to Ottawa in 1979. What was interesting about that was the struggle. The struggle is you go in. I remember days I would go into that store at Place d'Orleans here. Yeah. I would walk in, my staff wouldn't show up because they were sick or something. And I was there all by myself. I'd put the jewelry out, have my lunch,
Yeah.
put the jewelry away at the end of the day. Didn't see one customer.
Okay.
So the first year we lost $40,000, no salary to Brent, no salary to anybody. We lost 40,000. The second year, Maison D'or, we broke even.
Mm-hmm.
The third year we made 30 or 40. And I think that's part of the discussion of how a small business, how do you get started in business? I always say to people, it's 3 years. Okay, anything you start is minimum 3 years. Don't expect to make it in year 1 or year 2. If you're lucky, you break even. Year 3, you're better. Then year 4, you take off.
Yeah,
that's when you establish your name and you've got some return business. People are coming back to see you. They know who you are.
Right.
Even if you're a dentist or a doctor coming out of school, it takes you 3 years to build a patient. So a patient roster. So I don't understand when people say they start a business, they expect it to come overnight. It's not. It's a minimum 3 years to get going, and then from then on you got to and
to muscle through it, not just be there for 3 years, but like you show up, keep showing up, keep showing up, right?
And what I say to entrepreneurs is you have to. It's like planting a flag.
Right.
You plant a flag at the top of the hill. This is who I am. Well, then don't go away from that. This is who I am. This is my strength in the market, and this is who I am. So don't go away from that. Always stay in that area and work hard and build yourself there. Don't divide yourself between another project.
Interesting.
So ultimately in business, you make a decision. You and obviously it comes down to passion. Whatever you're passionate about, that's the most important thing. Passion is what it's all about. Because when you're in good times, passion will cover you, of course. But in business, you go through bad times. So what you need to cover during the bad times is passion. Because if you're passionate about something, you're going to fight for it.
Right.
But if you don't really care about it, you're going to let it go and you let it die. So I think, big thing in business, to be passionate about what you want, to understand it's a minimum 3 years to get going as an entrepreneur, to get going, and then to just fight like hell.
Yeah.
And the other thing I mentioned and we talked about before is that when you open a business, you're starting a business, an entrepreneur. I always say to people, listen, if you're going across the Atlantic in a sailboat, what's the first thing you do? The first thing you do is you batten down all the hatches so that no water can get into the boat. In this case, it's cash.
Right.
So for the first 3 years,
we've had some good conversations about that. Yeah.
you just nothing goes out. Everything comes in terms of equity, in terms of making money, but don't spend money. Don't spend anything. Like you got to watch your cash flow very critically.
No.
So those are the basic things to get started, and then just to love what you're doing and enjoy it.
I think that the key phrase in what you said is then fight like hell, because obviously these things don't happen on their own. There needs to be you're compounding good decision over good decision over good decision and just keep repeating. Obviously,
100%. You got to really decide this is where you want to be. You're going to go for it. You're going to stay there, and this is who I am. This is where I'm going. Stay totally laser focused on what your goals are.
Yep.
And one of the things that you can do, just as an entrepreneur,
No, this is very good. Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur, you can just simply go to Staples and buy a binder.
Yep.
It's very simple. Yep. You have 10 dividers in that binder. Okay. So the secret of small business, very simple, is that you wear 100 hats. You wear 50 hats. You're the person in charge of marketing. You're the person in charge of looking over accounting. You're in charge of cash flow. You're in charge of sales. You're in charge of inventory. You're everything.
Yeah.
So this little book that you would carry, and by the way, all of the billionaires in the world, not the millionaires, the billionaires, you'll see them with their little notepads. So one day about 3 years ago, I met the chairman of Canadian Tire Corporation. She's 82 years old. She's the family. That's the family owner that owns 50% of the shares. Her family from out west owns 50% of Canadian Tire Corporation. And she was there with her pad. She's making notes.
Yeah.
And, I'm going, and you meet people. So that's the way. So anyways, coming back to the physical book, it's a physical book, 1 to 10. Number one divider is, okay, my raison d'etre. Why am I doing this business? Why am I going to do this? Okay, what's it for? Number 2, what sales goals do I have for this business that I've outlined? In 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and 5 years. Okay, now expenses. Number 3, expenses. What are expenses? Number 4, what's your gross profit? What's it going to outline? Okay, so now you're going to do 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. So you've got somewhere to align and some move towards. Then you have the 5th one, which is advertising, okay, which is a very important part of it. The 6th one is promotions, how you promote your business division. And the 7th one is media and sorry, I'm looking for a word here.
Yeah.
It's just to talk to people, to be able to get your message out there.
Networking,
Free advertising, exactly. Networking, referrals, and so forth.
Yeah.
All of that's very important. And then the last ones are up to you, what you want to put in.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about this: you go to the dentist and you're waiting in the office. So you have your little book, and now you're writing notes.
Mm-hmm.
At 3 o'clock in the morning, you're going to get up. If you're an entrepreneur, you're going to get up in the middle of the night. You're going to say, "I have a really, really good idea."
Yep.
And you got to write it down.
Yep.
And then during the day, you come up. So all of these ideas you're putting into this book. Why? Because at the beginning of your business, you're wearing all of these hats, but how do you organize it?
Mm-hmm.
How do you put it into one so you can move forward?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important. And I've given that idea to several people. I've had people fly up from the States, jewelers who come out to me, and I sat them down and I said, okay, now let's work this little book through.
I've seen you do this with people. I've seen you do this in live with people.
It's a lot of fun because, again, it's direction and being able to understand that, okay, I have to take care of all of these things at once.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not one area. I have to be good a little bit here and there.
No.
So that's to get a business started. And then from then on, well, you have many resources. You have your accountants, then you have other resources, and now you have to coordinate them to bring it together, right?
Yes, of course. No, it's so good. No, I'm chuckling because I've seen you do this with people who've approached you about starting a business or taking it to the next level. So you're passionate about this, so it's always we can feel it. People will feel this in the video.
Well, it's a lot of fun. I'll never forget. Okay, I'll tell you a little story. When I was 5 years old, my aunt and uncle had the first private swimming pool in Hawkesbury, Ontario.
Yeah.
Aunt was very generous, so she'd invite any of the kids to come in. They'd come in, and she'd have 40, 50 kids in the afternoon, and she'd come out and she'd feed us all food and everything. So one day we decided we're going to have a circus here. Okay, so we organize it. All the cousins get together, and we have circus games and different things, fair games and all this, and we charge to get in. And my brother did a tight walk and tight rope walk, exactly, and all that stuff. Guess what I did? You know what I did? You were handling the till. I took care of them. I counted the cash. $5.
See, I didn't even know that story. And I guess
it's so bad. Yeah. And yet there was 10 of us, and 55 cents in 1950, 1960 was a lot of money. So we went to the candy store, and we had bags of candy for that. Yeah. But it was so funny. So I still have that in me. Yeah, I like to watch things carefully, like you do, Dan. I like to watch the bottom line, and it's fun. Like I said to my staff today, walked in, and it's kind of this and that. Let's go, guys. We're at the end of the month. Come on, we got to do $40,000 today. We're almost at our goal. Let's do it. Let's have fun. Let's make it. We'll move our bonuses and all this stuff. Yeah, it's kind of like Monopoly a little bit. Of course, it is. It's creative. It's fun. Yeah. And
you gotta love that. It's a lot of fun. So the jewelry business, obviously, coming from the background, your parents being involved, and you and your brother, and so on. Yep. Like, how has it changed over the years? I mean, obviously, every type of retailer is, and obviously, people still go to the store. I would suspect that this is not ordering this stuff online so much.
So exactly. So there is a huge online component right now. Mm-hmm. The difference is, let's talk about AI and what's happening with artificial intelligence even. Mm-hmm. I've seen it all at work. So you push a button, and the next day, 2 days, you get a piece. Now, it's not what you want because there's no human element. So essentially in our business, there has been a movement towards online sales, but the whole market has grown also. Our goal is to stay at the top of I always talk about a triangle, stay at the top of the triangle in terms of what people's needs are, to go for the better quality, to go for people who care, to go for people who want customization, for people who want to buy finer jewelry. So stay at the top of the triangle, stay at the best of the market, and you're going to be really, really well. Even today, like, differentiate yourself. We talked about an apartment block you're building. I said, Dan, have you considered putting in this or having a massage once a month done free for your tenants? Or always differentiating yourself in that. So coming back to the jewelry business, that's how it's changed. There's been some centralization so we're focused on the better quality for sure. We're staying in that market. We're not becoming the mass. We're not the peoples. We're not those guys. And we're staying focused on the market. So it has changed in that way. But the average sale has gone up tremendously too. People are spending more and better quality. So yeah, it's fun. And the future will be the same. The future will be more of the same. Even my parents' store in the 1960s, 70s, we gave personal service. We knew our customers. It's no different from today. We had customers in today who bought $10,000 bracelets. they're our customers, and they love the fact we know who they are, and we sit them down, give them a coffee, so that personalized service is there. In terms of the styles and all that changes over the years. In terms of the materials, have all changed, but the base of service and how you treat your customers in across every industry, including yours, Dan, and including Mike's. Everybody is in the same boat, is that we have to more and more personalization.
Right.
And but you see what's interesting with the AI, people, AI is the answer. It's not the answer in where we are, because if you're in the better part of the market, so okay, customer buys this $10,000 bracelet, they get an AI message tomorrow. Oh, thanks very much. It was great to see you yesterday, and we have matching earrings and blah blah blah, and your anniversary is coming up. We could do it for your anniversary. People know that's AI.
Of course.
That's not personalization, and that of course kills it. So I think the future for the business again, and for all of the people, everybody here, is to personalization. Understanding your customer and having the human values, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah, because I think like you hit the nail right on the head with the fact that people know. Now, do you get inundated with all the stuff you don't even know? Well, you kind of figure out now it's our automated messages, whichever. But obviously, in your business, where it's a luxury business, how obviously having a customer service, and I walk by Place d'Orleans, and most of the times where I walk by, I don't even dare stop because you guys are all engaged with the clients. Well, right? Because if ever that one odd time where I see there's just one client not being after, then I'll say, I'll go say hi to Brent. But if not, in most cases, if you're there, you're serving clients. And I mean, obviously we can see your passion. So
thank you. I got to tell you a certain experience that I have. So I went to the spa. I like going to spa once a week. I went to the Coina Spa, and at a particular point, after going through the hot, cold, you have an area where you can have a tea. And on this little cups, you're having your tea, you're sitting out in the sun, it's a beautiful day, you're enjoying the sun, just relaxing, no contact. There are people around you, but you're into your own thing, right? Yeah. And then you pick up this cup, and it's marked votre moment, or your moment. Okay, on the cup. Yeah. And I'm going, how beautiful is that? Yeah. So we took it back into our store, and we marketed. We're now marketing the moment. Yeah. So the moment is, for example, engagement rings or celebrating an anniversary is fantastic. It's a beautiful moment. Yeah. But also, what about the moment you come into the store to buy the piece of jewelry?
Of course.
What about the moment they come into here to rent an apartment from you to know that they're getting it? What if they walk through here, they want to buy one of your condos or rent one of your condos? Yeah. What is the showroom? What do they like? What's that moment that the person says, hey, this is a great place to rent, because I went into that showroom and I was taken care of. So while they gave me a coffee, they talked about all the extra services. Yeah. It's a family, it's friendly. Yeah. I want to rent there. Yeah. Same thing with us in the moment. So we're very much working on that aspect. We have a full coffee bar at the back. We have wine, we have beer, we have the whatever customers. And it's have it all available. Most of the time they'll take coffee, wine, or water. Coffee, tea, or water, not wine. It's all open.
Maybe it's wine.
If it is, we're happy. We're happy for them. But ultimately, it's to have that personal service. And I think that in the core essence of any business, whether you're painting or painting apartments, or whether you're like Mike with his business, yourself with your business, the core element is to have your people friendly and being able to give them develop a service, have it available for them, deliver what you say. Yeah, absolutely. And be kind to them after you've delivered it.
Of course.
Those are the three basics things in customer service, right? Yeah. If you say you're going to do something and for some reason you don't do it, it happens, but you have to apologize profusely. You have to give them something. Yeah. You have to say, I'm so sorry, but I got you a little extra just to say we're sorry. Yeah. Or just saying I'm sorry is a huge...
acknowledging if you missed somehow,
and taking care of the customer. So
no, that's good.
It's fun.
I'm going to switch you up a gear. Okay. We're going to hit the real estate industry.
Absolutely.
Another spot that I know you have a lot of passion for. Because obviously business is we talked about business, and business generates cash flow, and obviously most of us get to a point where now we reinvest, and you've been invested in real estate for a long time, so have I. Yes. So it's our discussions always go always go fairly interesting. So really quickly, like, what made you want to get into real estate?
Okay, so over the years, my brother Bill and I, in the jewelry business, we were constantly doing real estate at the same time. My brother Bill, mostly, we were partners in the jewelry, but he was buying buildings, commercial buildings, and developing that. So from working with him, I worked with him in that business for many years.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly I would take care of the jewelry branch and he would take the real estate.
Sure.
But at one point I said, that's it. I took care of more jewelry and I said, that's it, Bill. He went right to real estate and he did extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very happy for him. But I kept the jewelry, but then slowly I went back into real estate. So it
Sure.
started by developing Plaza Rockland in Rockland, Ontario, 110,000 square foot plaza. We purchased it. We did the redevelopment with it. We built it out
Mm-hmm.
and so forth. We went from there to Trim Road in Orleans. We built another plaza there, 10,500 square feet with Starbucks and so forth.
And when you say develop it, I know this, but for transparency, like
Yes.
these are not like it's from ground up. It's full development
100%.
from planning, everything.
Yep.
Right. And I mean, obviously going through that whole process. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but I think that's important to highlight that it's not just buying something that's already running.
No,
you're literally taking it from the dirt.
Absolutely.
On.
Absolutely. So it was a great learning experience. I remember our first project though, way back when we went to Ambram, Ontario, small town. I didn't have the experience, but I always knew that I wanted to stick my foot in the water. A lot of people in business, I'll tell you, they jump in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they say, we're going to open a restaurant or 10 restaurants. They jump their whole body in, and guess what? Sometimes they don't make it.
Mm-hmm.
Many times they don't.
Yeah.
So what you do, I think in business, you put your foot in, you test it. So I put my foot in the business in Ambram, Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
From that experience, what happened was we were going to build a plaza on the highway. I didn't have the experience. I was learning how does it go. So we went to the municipal council and so forth. And we had one mayor was very much involved with the project. Said, sure, come on in. Another mayor came in after was elected and said, no, you're finished. You're done. You're out of here. So I remember coming out of Emberm driving my car. We went to city council because we had spent $250,000 to do this project to build a shopping plaza.
Mm-hmm.
We had some tenants. I went to see them and they basically said no. They basically kicked my butt out of town.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm driving back from Emberm. I'm going, I've never felt this. Even in kindergarten,
Right.
I've never felt like this.
Right.
So I'm driving out of town. But from that experience, the mayor of Rockland calls me and said, Brent, they don't want you in Emberm, but we want you in Rockland. So I said, well, sir, how can we do this? He says, I'm coming to pick you up and I'm going to drive you around town.
Interesting.
So the politics of that, I learned that when you find the right political connections in terms of the town that wants development, it made a huge difference. So there we are. I developed that plaza. So we lost $250,000 in one plaza. The second project, 8 years later, we made $6.5 million. So that was my first step in saying, hey, this is kind of fun. I did it. We finished it. We completed it. And then we went on to build Trim Plaza on Trim. And now we're building another one across the way right now in current construction. And we're building in Wendover. So it's kind of this building movement. Now, my plans for the future are I would like to build what I call these Amazon-proof plazas. So what's that? Well, today with Amazon, any of the big box plazas, they have some super problems coming because people can find something online, push a button, get it delivered from China or from wherever directly to them. So it's a problem. Margins are slower, so they're lower. So we'll see what happens with the big boxes in the future. It's possible plan B for the big boxes will be taking them down fully and putting up residential.
Right.
And that's a fact. I know people who are very much in commercial and they're seeing that plan B is possibly turning to residential. So for myself, it was okay. If I build these 10 to 25,000 square foot plazas with no competition, future competition from Amazon, because you can't get your hair cut on Amazon, you can't get your dentistry done, you can't do this and that. That's my future. So now I'm building these out and they're profitable, huge amount of less risk. The banks are very much behind them because the statements are great. They make good money and they're solid. So once I build them, I plan to build them and hold them.
Right.
There's no plan. I sold Rockland just because I wanted to make that money. I wanted to feel that, but if I look back again, I would never have sold it.
Right.
So the future for me will be, and my family will be, to build these. And that's what I'm building it for. My building is seeding this for my family.
Nice.
So now I'm thinking about my daughters, I'm thinking about my wife, and just keeping. And now I've got 2 grandsons.
Yeah, so, good. That's fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And they can witness all of this. So you see, it's like you with your grandparents, and obviously coming down, they get to witness it.
It's beautiful because I work with my daughter in my business, which is a lot of fun because that's what happened to me. I grew up with my parents in their business. I had my 2 daughters are working with me in my business. And now my grandsons who come in, grandson right now who comes in, who's 2. Yeah. And he comes in, he looks at the chandelier and I take him in my office. I sit him on my lap and we look at some of the things and plays with a few stones. Yeah. So eventually when he's 4 or 5, I'll have him even more. just hanging around and playing.
Yeah.
So we're very lucky in that way. But that's what the real estate's given me. It's given me a position where you get up in the morning, and yes, it requires some effort to watch it. Weekly, we watch it. But at the same time, you get up in the morning, it does make money. If it's well structured, it makes money.
Right.
So unlike a retail business where it's very much daily operations, right? It's like having a farm.
Yep.
And you got to watch your horses. Right? If horses get out of the barn, or if the cows get onto the road, you got a problem with business, or any business. You have to watch it carefully.
Right.
Whereas the real estate, you can watch it once a week. You can have, if you got good accountant and good people, watch the cash flow carefully.
And the right tenants.
And the right tenants, you got it, exactly. Good tenants, and you're all set. So, yeah.
So, and then typically, so when you, because obviously the stuff that you build that's brand new, like what kind of time frame do you give yourself to get stabilized, like to have them leased up and then refinance?
I would say 2 years. Stabilization in 2 years. It's more, but these days it's harder to get tenants, a bit harder.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can get it stabilized within 6 months to a year. That means fully leased.
Right.
And so forth. But so we'll see in the future. There is a 1% vacancy rate for retail in Ottawa. It's very, very low right now.
Interesting.
So I have a current plaza on Trim Road we're building. We have maybe.
I drove by it this morning.
Pardon me? Oh, yeah, good.
Yeah, I drove by it this morning.
Excellent. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to see it come out of the ground, because I've been planning that for 3 years now.
Right.
We worked with the city for 2.5 years. We got site plan approval signed.
I remember when you bought it.
This morning.
Yeah.
This morning after 2.5 years.
Imagine.
So, but coming back to it, it's this sense of achievement. It's like you running your triathlons.
Yeah.
Like you went so hard, so long.
Yep.
So much training. Well, building this is like that.
Yeah, it's a marathon.
Feeling, it is. It's not a short-term mentality.
I've learned, because I'm involved in development too, but I've learned the art of patience. And how, because when you say you're running your jewelry store, or we're running the management company, or selling real estate, in many cases, a lot of things happening quickly.
Yep.
But in development, it involves a lot of different people.
Yep.
And it tends to be very, very, very slow.
Absolutely.
So it tastes your patience.
100%.
So you have to be persistently pushing on it.
I admire what you have done, Dan, because you have the vision. Like I'm looking at this wall back here. You have the vision, the long-term vision. And that's what it takes in real estate. It really is in residential and commercial. It is a longer-term mentality.
Yeah, it's by hanging around you and the people that think like you that I get to dream a bit more.
It's fun to be around.
You can see it happening. Yeah,
it's fun to see that energy, because we're both entrepreneurial, which is really important. And that's what our country needs.
I know.
That's what our country needs. We need entrepreneurs. A large part of our income in Canada comes between 10 and 300 employees, right? Large part of the companies. Yeah. Our governments need to invest into those companies to give us more employees.
Or at least
like you're doing here.
Just making sure that the soil is right for business to strive. They don't need to give us anything. They just need to allow us.
That's what we need. I had one woman come to me, and she said, Brent, and she has a Lebanese food restaurant, in Orleans. And she said, I don't know what I'm going to do, Brent. She said, I have these employees and we're not making much money and it's tough in this. And I said, listen, how many employees do you have? She says 8. I said, how many speak English well? None. I said, if you close that place, that means you're going to have 8 people who won't have any work, basically. Right. I said, now you're giving them work and you're giving them the respect of having a job. And, when I think about my grandparents, my parents, how they grew up, that's what we need here, is this work ethic. You got to work, you got to make a living, you got to be proud of what you do.
And contribute
to society. Yeah. And that's what makes you proud, right?
Yes.
You're not proud if you're sitting at home on welfare, or you're on whatever.
No, I know.
Insurance. I know. It's that attitude that I know you're bringing up your kids. I know that I'm bringing up. I know Mike and our families around us have that feeling that, okay, the government supports us when we absolutely need them. If there's a hurricane here, the army comes in, or whatever, we know. But ultimately, we're responsible for ourselves. So give us the tools and let us make our business and our families and be entrepreneurial.
No, absolutely. Yeah, to me, it's we don't typically need anything. We're just asking to let the soil be right for us to move forward, right? Deregulate and let us do what we have to do. So
and again, the majority of businesses between 10 employees and 300 employees, which steer this country, give them an opportunity, and they'll take it forward. And then for the other issues with the government, that's We're getting into politics now.
That'd be a completely other podcast.
Yeah.
So anybody listening to this, I mean, I know this, but I sometimes when you verbalize it, you just never know when somebody can help out. So for your next real estate projects, like what are you looking for? So anybody listening in, or even like I already know, so
Thank you.
But anybody listening in to say, you know, maybe they have this X part of property. What are you looking for?
We're looking for key properties, okay, in major vehicle traffic areas. For example, Carling Avenue, an older area, across the entire city. Development opportunities where the zoning is in place. There's an older building. We purchase a property. We retrofit that piece. We add an A&W on the corner, or whatever we do that fits, and we're able to develop that out as a plaza. And we're calling them Trim Social. We'll calling Carling Social because the social people go there. Anywhere between 10 and 25,000 square feet. Right. Lot size between 1 acre and 3 acres with zoning in place. So that's where we're really looking to build out. And I'm excited about that because I know it works. We're building number
we've seen it. You've done it. Yeah.
Thank you. And they're beautiful and they're nice properties. And so we'll get 60% of that. Those people coming in will be national chains like Starbucks or KFC or another chain. But 40% will be high quality independents.
Right.
So we're going, hey, why are we sitting in this old building? We could pay a little bit more rent, but we'd get a nice new building, and we're sitting in this dilapidated old building. So they're interested in moving forward, but they don't have any venues, right? Because they're stuck in the old strip malls. So our goal is to build new properties with new looks, but more attractive. And the other thing is manage them very well. So for example, we send a little notice to our tenants. Yeah. We have somebody who cleans up the parking lot 3 days a week. We send a notice to our tenants, could you please ask your employees, if they see any garbage on the ground, could they please pick it up and put it in the garbage container?
You really? Is that right? Yeah, because it's true. They're always nice and clean. Yeah,
we want to keep that.
I didn't know you did that.
Yeah. Okay. So it's fun because, of course, we have somebody 3 days a week, but somebody comes out of KFC and maybe at 9 o'clock at night throws their garbage on the ground. Well, when you get there, seagull, whatever, it just looks bad. Of course. So it's the way we want to run them. We want to run them really well, and keep our tenants really happy, and just give them that personal service like we do in the jewelry industry to our retail side. And so does my brother Bill and the Harden Group out of Montreal. They actually have 15 large shopping centers, including Vaudreuil, which is 350,000 square feet. And they also manage 15 shopping centers for RioCan in Quebec. They have 85. Oh, did they really? For RioCan, okay. Yeah, they have 85 employees out of Vaudreuil, and that's what they do. Okay. And there, I can tell you, I'm working with them because Wendover is part of that group. Yep. And they're very, very good and very sharp. For a large organization. So they run a large organization with 85 employees. Yep. And they always come back to their roots. We talk about it when I talk to the boys, I call them the boys. Yeah. They're 40, 38 now. Okay. And I say, listen, I understand where you came from. Yeah. I always say to people, especially the boys, because they have this massive, their father built this, right? And they could have sat back and just said, okay, we're just going to, clip coupons or whatever, just sit back. Yeah. But they didn't. They want to double their business. They're playing an active role. I always said, you always got to remember where you came from. Right. Never forget, because if you're not humble, that's the first thing that people will, first of all, notice in you, that you're putting on airs or whatever. Yep. And second of all, if you don't remain humble, well, then it goes to your head. If it goes to your head, then it's not a fun activity for anybody. Your employees, nobody, because they always say, "Oh, he thinks he's a big shot," or he doesn't consider, what we're trying to achieve, and then you lose the feeling of being as a team, right? Right. But so far, they've run that business. I'm very proud of them because they run it like a small business. Oh, so, that's good. That's good. And I know you're proud of them because you. They're really. I'm very proud of them, and I know where we came from. So I'm going to give you a little story, maybe a last story. Yeah. But this is my brother and I. Okay, in 1977, 78, we bought a shopping center in Hawkesbury called the Hawkesbury Center. Yeah. So I get this phone call. We bought it on a Friday, and my brother had a hard time getting the insurance on it, but he insisted. He said, listen, we're going to have insurance Friday night. We're going to have insurance. And they had to stay late, the lawyers, to get the insurance, be sure everything was in place. Yeah. Sunday night, we go there. They called me at 3 a.m. Brent, you got to come down. We go down to Main Street, Hawkesbury, my brother, Bill, and myself, and we're sitting there. And the furnace exploded, and it was totally burning down. It was finished. And it was burning down. In fact, there was a guy from Ottawa who was part of the bomb squad, was going up and down Main Street saying, get off of Main Street, get off of Main Street, get away. Okay. So we're sitting there. I look at Bill, And I look at this place burning down. Of course, I was just joining the business. I said, Bill, now this teaches you we should stay in the jewelry business.
Yeah.
So that was the worst advice I could ever give him.
Yeah.
And of course, he didn't take it, thank God, because he built his family and his group from that. And of course, I learned. But it was a bit traumatic to watch it come down. From that, which was very interesting, is from that we had leases at $2.50 a square foot.
Isn't that crazy? That's changed.
That was the old one, and of course we were able to release it at the current rates. Of course, it was. It was. We had insurance, and it just happened. But thank God we had the insurance in place. We would have lost our shirts one night.
Isn't that crazy? The importance of
just to say, so you go through life, and then and even in the jewelry business, I remember once we had. Guys break through the front door. Okay, and this is a small town, so we go down 3:00 in the morning, and they had cleaned out all the jewelry. So it's a small town, so the guys who rob, right? So we went to their house around the corner, and it was pitch dark, and all of a sudden they threw the jewelry out the window. So we're in the garden with flashlights, picking out the diamond rings out of the garden. We get back to the store, and we're sitting in the back. Now 3:00 in the morning, small town, cold out. Wind's coming through the front door. There's nobody to put another door in at 3:00.
No.
So my cousin goes home and gets his shotgun, and we're sitting on the back of my dad's this with a shotgun.
Making sure nobody's coming back.
So the chief of police walks in. He says, "Hey, hi boys, how you doing? Good." And of course, those were the old days. We talked to the chief of police. Chief of police, if you got a little accident, you know what I mean? I'm going to tell your father, if you don't do it, okay, no problem. So he comes in and says, how are you doing, boys? Oh, fine. What are you doing with that? I said, well, we're protecting the store. He says, well, you better take that home right now. But it was interesting to see the old days and how things, today they'd call a SWAT team, right? It would be, they deal with it very differently. But anyways, we're very lucky. So we grew up together in a family business. We grew from there. And as I said, I'm hoping that for my family and my future, we keep the essence of our family business, which was immigrant family. I really believe in that. We're immigrant families. Most of us are immigrants from somewhere. And keep that essence. And the people who are coming today as immigrants, given that they're good people, there's some bad people and everything, but given they're good people, that we, support them to give them the opportunity that we had as immigrants. Of course. Our parents had as immigrants. But with this idea, hard workers. I know exactly. Contribute to society and make a difference. So that's who you guys. That's what you do, and that's what Mike does. Brent,
you've been very generous with your time.
My pleasure.
And that's how I know you, and I respect you. And obviously, I know I've told you in the past, but I'll say it again. You're a mentor to me in how you act. I come to you for advice. Knowledge, and I was happy that you took on the opportunity to come in and just share this with people, because I think people who know this already, but if people don't know how generous you are. And clearly today was just another example of that. So
thank you, Dan, and thank you very much for being so much energy. I mean, I approached you about a year ago to join this little book club with us together and meeting once every 3 months and talking, and your energy is there all the time for us, and contagious, and it's great for me at my age to meet somebody with you who has that kind of energy, because it just goes, okay, what are you going to do? People say, are you going to retire? I said, no. Retirement equals death, and death equals retirement. So I don't think I want to retire.
When you're having fun, you don't want to retire.
Hey, life is too much fun, and business is too much fun. So thank you again for having me today. It was my pleasure to be here.
Thank you.